Ladies, gentlemen, how are you? Crypto's it is. Crypto's the game. Bitcoin Cash, the name. And 240 minutes, that would be 4 hourly. Okay, my scribbles all over the place. It'll look a mess. Doesn't matter. This is the conclusions from all of that. Dangerous time for Bitcoin Cash, potential for major sell-off, and in fact this structure is in a number of the big macro alts and to a degree in BTC as well. It is not a healthy. So we had our upside bump. Very fortunate. I mentioned to my insiders, guys, I'll have to get the certificate to prove that I sold at 1845. That's because we had a triangulation. We sold some at this level at target, and then I had a triangulation with Bitcoin making target. That was very lucky because Bitcoin didn't make target. We did have a setup for 10,250 and it only ran all the nines. But this overperformed, so I got out on the $1845 for some coin as well. But anyway, that moot little brag apart, I don't mean to be too up on myself. We haven't traded it perfectly by any means. I did keep some in case of overperformance and ended up getting some of the quite a bit of it a lot lower down, so that wasn't as smart. Anyway, so basically in terms of what we're getting here is we're getting a left shoulder. I'm going to do these, typically I do these in red for the bearishness. A left shoulder out of the original setup, which actually overperformed, but then exhausted quite strongly. And then exhausted all the way down to what we call our funnels. You can find out more about this. In fact, it seems quite timeous because we're doing the webinar on defense first when markets turn against you, and recognizing early when the key buy long structure no longer holds, as there's so many buy shills out there just going buy, and this is the new coin, and keep rinsing and repeating and buying what you buy. And you have to recognize there's a season for everything, and this has been a bit like this for a while. In fact, I'd say this whole year so far has been, and there have been up moments, as you can clearly see, but it's been not necessarily 100% clear that it would be the case. And BCH did overperform on the recovery upside for a bit, after underperforming extremely in the back end of last year and on the sell-off of BTC. So, you know, it's kind of caught up, but now it's looking weak. And we actually have structure here of an inverted HVF. So I'm going to now drill down into this part of the chart. So you can say goodbye to the 4 hourly. You can see the up move. You can see this level line. By the way, while we're still on the head and shoulder, if this macro head and shoulder turns out to be, there could be a risk, if the target were made, of going all the way down here. Now, a head and shoulder, it could reverse and go some of the way and not go all the way to target. We also have the initial target of here. So I've drawn a scenario, a little bit of a rally back up to funnel, run the funnel of the upside. We never quite did it, or we put a toe over it, but didn't really hold for any period. So technical break there by maybe a centimeter, if that. Run the second interim of this downside setup, and then rally to somewhere around the axis in the funnel, which was support, now turns resistance. Sell off and make the target of this setup. Then maybe a bit of churn period and a bit of pullback. So that's like the break of the neckline for the head and shoulder. You often get a return move to the neckline on the bigger pattern, aka the red structures I've drawn here, where the funnel is your neckline. So you return to the neckline here and then wind up and spill. Now, I've done that a little bit simplistically. You don't always get it a straight down move, but I'm run out of space to give you a bit more scenario casting there, so I'm not going to. So let's drop down into the shorter time frame. So that's a trigger short. Note quite low vol here, itching up, a little bit of a test, a little bit of a hammer, a little bit of a shooting star. These were ugly candles. When you saw them on the 44 hourly, they were really ugly. I did for my internal guys, they were getting this as it comes. You guys are going to get a chance to play this one with us because it hasn't triggered the main pattern, but you've missed the entry short on the inverted HVF. These were two ugly candles. That's a proper sell-off. That one actually rallied all the way up there, got its ass spanked all the way back down, back to where it came, and some all on the way down. That is proper nasty piece of trade for 2 4-hourly candles there. So those were triggers on the short of here. And you haven't really missed that much, and you may get a return move rally because we've got the support. It's a bit tentative about dealing with this funnel level here, but when it decides to break it, it'll break it with momentum. There may even be news that will drive it, but it'll break it likely with momentum. So this structural level here is holding for now, but when it breaks, if it breaks, it'll break with momentum. What'll happen if we're wrong? Well, that's the level of invalidation. Simple as that. And it's clear, and it's the right shoulder failed. That means it might make a bigger right shoulder. That doesn't mean the head and shoulder can't still happen. It just means this inverted structure is not going to happen. You'll learn how we draw the inverteds when you come on a program. Many guys think they get it all from watching YouTube. You can get only just an idea. So yeah, big risk here in BCH. And just to show you a couple of things, BTC not a whole bunch better. Its upside was over there, that failed. It's actually already lower, so it's had a spill in the right shoulder and a spill. But this broadening after making its head and shoulder target is also sitting on a legacy funnel, so it's not looking that great either. I prefer the BCH. It's just flick past a few coins. IOTA, you're in a bear flag structure on a right shoulder. Sure, it's going up now, but it pumped really strong yesterday, and it's had some big days, but it's in this strain. It needs to break out of this, and actually the only point that this is invalidated is way up there. But even if you push out the top, that doesn't invalidate this as being a right shoulder. I'd say once you start trading a lot higher than the left shoulder that we have, and note how they all had similar structures. So I'm showing you a couple that had these kind of a Missigo, bit different, big rounded top, and a key level of significance here that you're sitting on, big rounded dome top, and then you're in a bit of a channel here. That doesn't bode strong. That's not classic bottoming price behavior. And other things that we're watching, Ethereum was one of the relative strongest, but that's rolled over. It's also balked at this inverted funnel there and there. It can't close it, can't get out of it. Lots of lines on this chart. It might be confusing, but similar structure. It's a slightly higher right shoulder because it's been relatively stronger. So it's one of the strongest. So it's one I would probably short. Slightly less inclined to short because it's shown relative strength for now, but it could catch up and be super weak. You don't know, but it's best to stay with the ones that are super weak. There's other coins, all of which have similar kind of structures. This makes me highly cautious. You guys, you're not the guys that are going to be telling you buy all the time and what you want to hear. This is not stable pattern structure. It doesn't mean it has to do the scenario I'm saying. I'm just saying there's a much higher risk of a capitulative sell-off than is in normal conditions. So if I just bring that back up, we're still looking at Bitcoin Cash now again. This is looking one of the worst of the lot, and it has a big downside target. This is not stable. We don't trade reversals, we trade HVFs, but you've got an inverted HVF structure on your right shoulder and you had an upside on your left shoulder. It's very common that happens. You'll learn about how a HVF method combines with traditional technical analysis. You can break into this trade for a much bigger target, the head and shoulder target, by utilizing the inverted HVF, and you could have been short here instead of waiting till the neckline. And in fact, traditional technical analysis would have had a neckline way down here at an ascending angle like this, something like this. Like that. So it's a long way away before they get to the trade. That's the value of what we do. So you can learn about shorting with us and how to take defense on the webinar. I'm mentioning it a bit. We're going to do some new content instead of the 7 mistakes and the 3 great gifts of trading, which we're going to turn into a recording for those that haven't seen that one and would like to see it. We'll do a recording of it, but it won't be live. We're very honest with folk, even though it's in those, one of those webinar type structures that makes it feel live. It will be a recording. However, this Thursday will be live, and you can learn a little bit more about when to get defensive and keep on to the good profits that you make. Because as I said before, and I'm repeating it quite often, it's often more about what you get to keep, not making some good money. Everyone at some point who's a long only in a strong market that's gone up long will have made some big profits. I'm reminded of the guy who made 300 Bitcoin starting on about 3, using huge leverage all the way, multiplying and inverted pyramiding his size all the way up to the point where he had 300 Bitcoin. At that point, when it was close to $20,000, he had virtually $6 million. He lost it all within the first 15 to 20% down move of that 20,000. Why? Because of money management, sizing. He lost a whole lot, and he was really honest about it and said he really, he stopped, he quit his family relationships, he did a whole bunch of stuff, and he became compulsive, and he lost it right down each time, and he spoke about the steps right until he'd given up his final Bitcoin. And that must have been incredibly frustrating. That's a failure of money management, and also a failure to recognize that the market circumstances had changed. Everyone will say, oh, I'd never do that, or I'd never be that stupid, or that leveraged, or whatever. The market circumstances changed. Many people have had a smaller, less extreme version of that story since the 20,000 in Bitcoin. Did you pick the turn? How quick? We could have done it better, but we did get there, and we made some money on the short side. We'll be faster next time. So we all start to get seduced by drinking the Kool-Aid. But if in a community where you have principles, you learn it and you pick it up faster. And then what can you do? You can hedge, you can take defensive action, and you can even, when you feel confident, start going short and taking money. Because everything has its season. Anyway, enough on that. BCH, a concern for possible downside. That's the message. I hope you enjoy the clip, and speak to you all soon, and enjoy. And if you share and rate, it's always appreciated, to the right people. Bye for now.